Hey everyone, before the story begins, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more emotionally charged, deeply psychological stories about family, betrayal, and revenge that unfold slowly, building tension to unforgettable climaxes. The candles flickered, small stars in the dim room, as I sat at the head of the long oak table in our Vienna apartment. The city outside had turned cold, the first snow settling on rooftops like powdered sugar, soft and silent. It should have been a celebration, my 42nd birthday, but something in the air felt heavier, taut as a wire. My wife, Elsbeth, had been quiet all evening, her usual warmth replaced with a distant, measured calm. She moved with elegance, but her eyes were distant, unreadable. The guests had laughed, glasses clinked, and my friends toasted me with beers, wine, and schnapps. Everything appeared ordinary, festive, and yet I couldn't shake the sense that a storm was waiting, hidden behind her calm demeanor. She knelt. At first, I thought it was a playful gesture, something to amuse our friends. But when I looked closer, I saw the other man, Anton, a mutual friend from her work at the art gallery. He was kneeling too, face tense, eyes locked on hers. The room froze. Forks hovered midair, laughter stilled, and the low hum of conversation vanished. I smiled, tried to stay composed, tried to convince myself it wasn't real. Elsbeth didn't look at me. She didn't speak. She just held the other man's gaze, her lips pressed in a thin line. I wanted to step forward, shout, stop the scene, but I didn't. For reasons I couldn't explain at the time, I remained seated, my hands clenched under the table. The minutes crawled. I watched her, my heart hammering, my mind a storm of disbelief, humiliation, and anger. Our marriage had been strained. Long hours, distance, subtle coldness, but never this. Never betrayal on display in front of everyone. And yet, as the shock settled into clarity, I noticed something else. Her hands. They trembled, slightly, but enough. A sign that she was not in control. An hour later, the chaos had passed. Guests had murmured excuses, disappearing into the snowy night. Anton had left, silent and awkward, leaving me and Elsbeth alone in the empty apartment. She was quiet, seated on the couch, eyes blank. The air smelled faintly of candles, wine, and something darker, something I could not name. I approached slowly. Elsbeth, my voice was calm, almost detached. I needed her to speak, needed her to explain. She didn't. She only smiled. A small, hollow smile that froze me to my bones. And then she left the room. An hour later, she was gone from this world. I found her in the bathroom, pale, still the scent of finality heavy in the air. Her hands were limp, and the note she left behind was short. I am free. The world shattered. In the days that followed, the city became a blur of grief, paperwork, condolences, and police reports. Friends avoided my eyes. Family murmured softly, unsure what to say. Everyone whispered about Anton, about the public betrayal. No one noticed the detail that mattered. Her suicide had been calculated, precise, and meant to frame me. If anyone looked closely enough, grief turned into obsession. I replayed the night over and over. Every detail mattered, every gesture, every glance. And then, slowly, I realized something crucial. Elsbeth had not acted solely out of despair. She had acted to control, to manipulate, to punish, to test the limits of loyalty, patience, and societal perception. She had made a spectacle for everyone but me. And in that silence, she had handed me a puzzle. I spent weeks analyzing her work, her journals, her messages, her habits. The picture emerged slowly. Her life had been a web of secrets, alliances, and betrayals I hadn't fully understood. Anton had been a pawn, an experiment, not her lover, not her confidant, just someone she could use to stage her own power. The first step of my revenge was subtle. I had inherited financial control of her assets upon her death. But she had left conditions. Conditions meant to bind me, to humiliate me. Conditions she believed would keep me trapped. But I had learned from her. Patience, observation, strategy. I began quietly unraveling her arrangements. Executors of her will, her lawyers, trusted friends, they all fell into patterns. Loopholes, tiny mistakes, overlooked clauses. I traced every signature, every account, every document with meticulous care. Each discovery fed a growing fire in me. I didn't act immediately. I waited, observed, allowed her network to expose itself through routine mistakes. The irony was exquisite. Her own careful orchestration now became my weapon. Months later, I struck. Assets were redirected, investments reclaimed, and her closest confidants were exposed as complicit in her manipulations. And the social circle that had watched me humiliated at my own birthday now turned their eyes to the consequences of Elsbeth's designs. Careers faltered, reputation shattered. The institutions she had woven herself into slowly unraveled. All the while, I remained outwardly calm. I attended funerals of mutual friends. I hosted quiet dinners. I smiled politely while her allies fell one by one. The final act was subtle, a gathering in her memory at the gallery where she had worked. The same people who had whispered about Anton now whispered about the financial collapse. I delivered a toast, solemn, composed. Elsbeth taught us all the value of precision and foresight. Let us honor her memory by remembering to act wisely and never underestimate the quiet ones. The murmurs of acknowledgement hid the sting. But they didn't see it at first. The toast was a declaration. The revenge was complete, not with loud confrontation, but with the surgical dismantling of the world she had tried to control, now operating under my terms. At night, I returned home, the city silent under winter's first snow. I lit candles, thinking of the woman who had shocked me, humiliated me, and yet taught me patience, observation, and cunning. Her actions had forced me to awaken a part of myself I had long ignored. The revenge wasn't about anger anymore. It was about reclamation, about balance, about proving that even the most calculated manipulation could be met with equal calculation and patience. And in the stillness of the Vienna night, as the snow fell silently on rooftops, I understood fully. Elsbeth had left me a legacy of chaos, but I had turned it into control. Some stories end with justice, some end with vengeance. Ours ended with awakening. I poured another glass of wine. Outside, the city slept. Inside, I smiled, not with malice, but with the quiet satisfaction of someone who had seen betrayal, survived it, and finally turned it into power. And for the first time in months, I felt entirely unshakable.